glaube, wir sind dran. Ja, es geht schon in die richtige Richtung. I was born and raised in Germany by Turkish immigrants. But only at the age of 26, I had my first German friend. When I say German, I mean Germans without an immigration background. And at the age of 33, I did something for the first time in my life, and it was in Las Vegas. And you have no idea what it was.
Hoş geldiniz. Welcome. These are the first words that my great-grandparents heard when they came from Turkey to Germany in the early 60s. They are the reason why I am here. My granddad's eyes shined brightly until his very death when he talked about his work at the factory in Cologne. I was born into a very Turkish family and didn't leave my hometown for 18 years. And there was one trip that changed my life forever. And as Iskandar said, I will tell you more about it in the end of this presentation.
Today's most important currency, most valuable currency is attention. We need to get the attention of our audiences in order to achieve our goals. The good thing about that is that we can control attention. We just need to learn how to do it. And I've brought with me for you today the 6 keys of persuasion. Today you will learn the 6 keys that will help you to persuade others with your fundraising pitches, sales pitches, marketing campaigns, probably even emails and LinkedIn posts. And before we dive into our 6 keys of persuasion, we need to understand our brain better. And we need to look into our brain. And there are 2 main parts for today that we need to understand, 2 parts of our brain. There is the neocortex. Who has read Daniel Kahneman's Think Fast and Slow? Oh, wow. We are in the bubble, very clearly. A lot of hands. So, Daniel Kahneman is referring to the neocortex, or the idea behind it, as System 2. That is the part of your brain that is responsible for rational thinking, that is rationalizing, processing information, making conscious decisions. And then there is our System 1, or how I will call it today, the reptile brain. Some call it reptilian brain, some others the lizard brain. It is the part of the brain that makes instinctive decisions, unconscious decisions. It's deep in our DNA. And one of our biggest problems when we communicate is, especially when we pitch, that we pitch to the neocortex. We communicate rational arguments. We try to convince others with rational arguments, with logic. But what we need to do is we need to first address the reptilian brain of others. Because the reptilian brain is kind of the bouncer. The bouncer that decides which transformation gets through to the neocortex and which gets not through. Who knows this guy? Who has been to the PAKCon before? Yeah, who has passed this guy? Okay, this is known as the hardest bouncer in the world, but believe me, the reptilian brain is even harder to pass. And we will learn today how to do that. There are 6 triggers that you need to know about our reptilian brain. When you know them, you can persuade others. When someone takes a group picture of you and your friends, and then you look at that group picture for the first time, which is the person you look at first? Who's that? Yourselves. You little narcissistic things. But it's normal, because our reptilian brain is self-centered. That's the first trigger of our reptilian brain. It just cares about one thing, me, and nothing else. And this is why it's so important when you communicate, when you pitch, that you show the others what's in for them. In a sales pitch, it's not about you, it's about what's in for them. That's also why nobody cares about your team offsite posts on LinkedIn. Who has posted about the team offsite before on LinkedIn? Nobody cares, I'm sorry. Just your colleagues care. What's in for them? And that's also why, who likes long intros? When you do an intro round and the other person is doing a long intro, self-intro. Who likes that? Yes, we hate that. Because we don't care. It's just about me. So let's do it better, Gülşah.
All eyes on
Please.
me, obviously. I'll try to do it better, and you tell me if that was better indeed. So, I'm Gülşah Wilke. I'm a partner and head of DACH of DN Capital, which is a VC fund with 1 billion assets under management. And I'm the co-founder and MD of 2hearts, Europe's largest platform and community for culturally diverse talent in tech. Was it better? Thank you. Iskender, now it's your turn.
My name is Iskender Düring. I'm partner at Dellen Ventures, an early-stage fund focused on the future of work. I'm also a fundraising advisor, have my own fundraising coaching program called the Fundraising Co, and also one of the 4 co-founders of 2hearts. Another hack for you guys. Remember, our reptilian brain is in the me mode. So what you should do is, do your research when you talk to someone, when you do a sales pitch, a fundraising pitch, whatever. Find out what their passion is, because we love to talk about our passions. Find it out and then ask them. Let them talk about their passion. Gülşah, let's talk about your passion. What is 2hearts? Why are you passionate about it?
Very happy to. Every third young person in Germany under 20 has a migration background. And every second child as well. More than 13 million. And these children come over proportionally often from underprivileged backgrounds. And it takes them around 180 years or 6 generations to reach national average income. I'm Gülşah Wilke, and I was one of these 13 million children. And it took me quite some challenges, closed doors and walls to get where I am today. And that's why I and my 3 co-founders want to be the person that we needed when we were younger. And this is exactly why we started 2hearts. We are Europe's largest platform for culturally diverse talent. And with our more than 3,000 members across Europe, we have 150 nationalities, or as you can see, hearts, as we like to call those. And diversity initiatives like 2hearts are needed more than ever, not only in Europe at large, but also in Germany, because Germany lacks 500,000 skilled workers every year to just keep our economy up and running. That's why those people that are already here, we need to help them feel at ease. In an international study of expats, i.e. people who are already here and come from abroad, we as Germany rank 49 out of 53 countries in terms of popularity. We are really one of the most unpopular countries. That's why you need safe spaces, communities, and places where you belong, like 2hearts. If you would like to apply, because this was something that last year many wanted to do and they didn't know how, join us through our website, 2heartscommunity.com, and we would love to be that safe place and community for you going forward. Thank you.
She loves to talk about her passion, like all of us. Let's go to the second trigger of our reptilian brain, contrast. First of all, visual contrast. Our reptilian brain loves visual contrast. Look how this feels to you and how this feels to you. This is stress. This is relaxing. We like visual contract. I just triggered your reptilian brain. Did that get attention or not? Our reptilian brain likes change. That is also a form of contrast. We hate monotonous delivery. We hate monotonous things. And that sound just activated your survival instincts. It was, oh, something is happening. Your reptilian brain has one goal, that is to secure your survival. And that sound was just like, it's deep in our DNA. It's like, oh, something is happening. Is it safe for me or not? Our reptilian brain loves contrast. And contrast also means distinction, differentiation. As a VC, I see a lot of startups where I don't understand how they really differentiate from the others in the market. It's the same when you buy in B2B sales, when you're a buyer and you don't understand how does that solution differentiate from the others. Our reptilian brain hates that. That's why differentiation is so important, to make clear how you differentiate yourself from others. And what our reptilian brain loves are statements like, if they are true, we are the leading XYZ, we are the biggest XYZ, oh, we are the only one who's capable of doing XYZ. That's clear distinction. Contrast also means standing out. That's one of the reasons why the Milka cow was so successful. Again, triggered your reptilian brain. Once upon a time, my friend, a German Persian guy, decided to take on a Christmas hat when he went partying in a club in Hamburg. And it was everything else but not Christmas. He stood out, which was the reason why a girl with a German-Turkish background, why he got so much attention from her. That hat. Today they are married and have 2 children. Contrast also means, or is the reason why we love before-after pictures. We all love before-afters. The bigger the contrast, the better. We also love contrast in storytelling. The story of that introvert guy who was afraid of going into a room with other people, who's now enjoying standing in front of thousands. One of the best story frameworks for you when you try to pitch, when you pitch, not just try, is to make the contrast as dark as possible between the world today or yesterday without your product versus the world with your product, the brighter future. The bigger the contrast, the better. Talking about before, after.
So on the left-hand side, you can see me, for those who haven't recognized. It's a little Gülce. As you can see, she is wearing a very Turkish dress at a Turkish wedding, and everyone here who attended a Turkish wedding in their lives will know what this means. 400, 500 guests, very bright and shiny clothes, and just standing out. So I learned this very early on, as you can see. But at the same time, it's a young girl that was born into a very Turkish environment, basically having no German friends and not knowing anyone that looks different than herself. And on the right-hand side, you can see a young woman that went through a lot of struggles, that has both Turkish and German roots, and that always somehow felt torn between these 2 hearts, these 2 perspectives, and even, that's how it felt, these 2 identities. But ultimately, as she progressed, she learned that having 2 hearts, it's a privilege and it's an asset, not only for herself, but also for our society and for our country at large. Iskender.
The third trigger of our reptilian brain. Our reptilian brain loves tangible things. It hates abstract concepts, which is one of the reasons when I read something like this in a pitch deck, I just hate it, because it's not tangible. You need to make things as tangible as possible. And what I'm always preaching is clarity over completeness. We know so many things, right? And we always want to let the others know how much we know. make long presentations, write long papers, but it's much more important to be short and concise and to go for clarity. And here's a general rule. You need to make sure that in whatever you present, that the other person needs as little brain processing power to understand it as possible. Ideally, no at all. I will never forget that offsite I had in Redmond when I was working for Microsoft, where some corporate VP came in and presented to us these slides and talked about these slides, right? And I was literally sleeping. I'm not over-exaggerating. I will never forget it. Okay, so better don't tell, show. I think most of you have heard this. Product demonstrations are great. Testimonials that show your actual impact are great. Real testimonials.
Yeah, so let me tell you a bit more about why 2hearts actually is achieving to be that safe place for our communities. So here actually you can see Yasemin. Yasemin is one of our founding members. She is German-Turkish. And when we first met Yasemin, and I asked her, where do you come from? She would not say Turkey at all. She would just say Germany. And just over time, we learned that she was ashamed of her Turkish identity because this was what over the years was told to her to not be cool, to not be academic, to not being liked. And fast forward, Yasemin is one of our most outspoken members who goes on stages and talks proudly of her Turkish heritage and her German home. She is now working for a VC and supports us wonderfully. Let me also tell you the story of Farisa. When I first met Farisa, she was studying at actually the same university that I studied. She was about to finish her bachelor degrees and said, Gülce, I would love to do a master's, but everyone around me has parents that will send them to Australia, to the US, to Harvard, you name it. I just can't afford it. I have a student loan already, but I really want to get a great job. What can I do? And you know what? 15 years before her, I was standing in the exact same situation. I supported her, she did internships, and in the end she landed her perfect job. Now she's in the US, founding her own company. And last but not least, also the power of our community. We all remember when the horrifying attack of Russia to Ukraine happened. And just the very next day, we had our 2hearts community meetup. And I remember going to this Asian restaurant and then two guys, one of them Ivan, approaching me and saying, Gülce, do you have a minute? And I was like, of course. I mean, this is a community event. Let's talk. I was thinking they will chat a bit about investments, etc. And then he became more serious and said, can we go somewhere more silent? I said, yes, of course. And then he was saying, you know, my entire family is in Ukraine and some are trying to go out, but they need jobs. They need to earn money. How can we support them? Can you do something for us? Within 2 weeks, within the community, we compiled a group of 50 people that set up the entire website, that set up the partnership with all these companies that guaranteed to hire thousands of Ukrainians. And fast forward, it became the go-to place for all Ukrainians who are here and are looking for a job. And this is also the power of community when you actually come together. Thank you.
Ready for trigger number 4? Yep. It will be a short one because we already demonstrated it. Our reptilian brain loves the beginning and the end of presentations, for example. Look, this is the curve of remembering. It shows the probability that you remember something you heard, for example, at the beginning or the end of a presentation. I think we don't need to be mathematicians in order to understand what it visualizes, what it shows clearly. We remember most of what we saw at the beginning and the end. That's where we have the most attention. And that is why It is so important that you start with a hook, with a big bang when you do a keynote, when you do a pitch. Even when you enter a room to a meeting, don't waste the beginning with meaningless small talk about weather. Try to use that. And if you don't prepare for a talk, a presentation, then at least prepare for the beginning and the end, because these are the most important parts, and 99% of people just waste it. Did we got some attention when we entered the stage? Yeah. We could also have done this here.
Hi everyone, so I'm Gülça. I studied at a private business school in Österreich-Winkel. Österreich-Winkel is close to Frankfurt. Then I got a great job in consulting. It was always my dream, so I went to IBM. It was really consulting. And then I joined McKinsey. It was so cool. I felt so smart. Oh.
Sorry, could we just stop it?
Okay.
I think they got it.
Okay. But I really want to finish, there's like 15 more things.
That's right. I'm sorry. Don't waste the beginning of your presentation, of your email, of your LinkedIn post. We all know how important it is that you start with a strong hook. Same with videos. I was a bit of a rebel when Project A asked me to make a little video to tease this talk here, because I got the template and it was like, first start with your introduction. My name is Iskander, I'm partner, Sorry guys. I just was like, me. The beginning is so important. And the end. Okay, we are coming to an end. Fifth trigger. Our reptilian brain loves visuals. It's very visual. This is the pitch deck that I used when I pitched for the first time, long time ago, that I presented. That is terror for our reptilian brains. That is not visual. And there is a simple rule, a very simple rule, with which you can check if a slide that you are presenting, it's not about your handout deck, a slide that you are presenting, if it's a good presentation slide or not. And that's the glance test. And the glance test is easy. You need to be able to digest the content of a slide at a glance. Should we quickly do the test? Let's do a glance test with a slide from a pitch deck. Quickly. Did you get it? That's what usually people are presenting. It was even less than the normal person would present. So it didn't pass the glance test. So let's do it again. Look, did you hear it? You had even the chance to give it a smile, a laugh within that glance. That is a presentation slide. That's what our reptilian brains like. And of course, we like cat and dog pictures. Talking about visuals, this is a visual from our 2hearts website. It should visualize what many of us felt or still feel on the left side, being lost in between cultures. That was me for the first 30, 35 years of my life. Look, I was just in August with my family in Turkey. And whenever I'm in touristic areas in Turkey, we were in Istanbul. First of all, people don't recognize me as being Turkish, so they approach me in English or German, and then they tell me that I don't look Turkish. And then the moment I'm starting to speak, they're like, "Oh, abi, Türkçen çok iyi misin?" They say, "Oh, your Turkish is so good." Look, in Germany, they say, "I don't look Turkish, and my German is so good." In Turkey, they say, "Oh, you don't look Turkish, and your Turkish is so good." So who I am, lost in between cultures. That was the first 30, 35 years of my life, and only then I started to embrace what I have, to embrace that it's a gift.
Yeah, and maybe an anecdote here to also show it can be different, right? So for me, actually, it was the very much opposite. When I was in Germany, people would say, "You're not Turkish, your German is so well." So I felt like this is a compliment, which obviously it was not, but hey, I was small. And vice versa, when I was in Turkey, people would tell me, "You're Turkish, you're not like these other Turkish Germans." So exactly the opposite, talking about cultural shocks. Here, on this picture, you see a girl that doesn't really look very German, right? Not your average German. But she is actually indulging in the German culture. I'm from North Rhine-Westphalia. Is here anyone from Rhineland, North Rhine-Westphalia? Hands up? Yes. So, then all of you will know what this is about, right? It's about Carnival. So literally, when I was like, I couldn't walk, but I already had some Carnival makeup on and some costumes. So this is how integrated I am. And similarly, St. Martin, which is also a ceremony in Germany, here on the left-hand side. And by the way, this guy here is the reason why I'm standing here on the top right hand. It's my granddad that unfortunately we lost in December, and he was the one who made it possible that I stay here. Best picture. So this guy here, maybe some of you might know, is our co-founder, Min Sung, 2hearts co-founder. He used this picture when we launched 2hearts to say what 2hearts is about. And I don't think it needs much explanation, because you see a very different looking, Asian looking boy surrounded by white blondes. And this is what 2hearts is about.
Talking about visuals, talking about culture shocks. So this is for me personally, having a German and Turkish heart, this is for me the picture of a culture shock. Has anyone an idea what this visualizes? Again, our reptilian brain likes visuals. Wow, you're smart. And multicultural, I guess. So this is a wedding location, the Turkish wedding location in Germany, on a random Saturday or Sunday at 5 p.m. And at 5 p.m. you will see some people in the corner at the back, the Germans. And then they will look around, they're like, it's 5. It's 5. Am I wrong here? Wrong day, wrong time, wrong location. Yeah, there was 5 p.m. was on the card, but on the invitation, right? But no Turkish person would come at 5 p.m. So they start coming in at 6, and then more at 7:30, and more at 7, because they know between 7:15 and 7:30 the bride and the groom will come in. And actually, I said Turkish wedding. By the way, our reptilian brain loves humor. And that brings us to the last trigger.
Iskandar, but you're missing something here. Much better.
Our reptilian brain loves stories and emotions. It's also a great way to make things, value propositions, whatever you want to convey, more tangible by embedding it into a story. Our reptilian brains need trust and rapport building.
Yeah, well, we talked about cultural shocks and not feeling at ease, right? So let me give you 3 examples where I really asked myself, where is actually my home? I felt as a stranger in the country that I grew up. But I also felt as a stranger in the country where my parents came from and my grandparents. And I always asked myself, Gülşah, where do you belong? My school teacher once said, in front of all kids, and I was like around 7 years old, look, even Gülşah, the Turkish student, knows the answer to this question. Another time, I just started my job at McKinsey, and I was about to have my first client workshop when the client approached me and said, can we have 2 coffees, please? And last but not least, very recently, because you might think that, hey, over seniority this changes, I was recently invited to an executive dinner. And then this white male German DAX CXO approached me and said, wow, your German is so well done. I looked at him, I was like, yeah, well, I managed to learn German in 37 years, but thank you so much for the compliment.
So let's wrap this up. There's 6 triggers you need to know, 6 triggers of a reptilian brain you need to know. It's self-centered, me. It loves contrast. It loves tangible things and hates abstract things. It loves the beginning and takes a lot of attention, gives a lot of attention for the beginning and the end of presentations, for example. It's very visual. And it's very emotional. It likes stories, rapport building, and trust. Let's put that all together. Let me finish this with some last words about my story. My story is the story of a guy with two lives. In my first life, I was part of a very traditional, very religious community, a beautiful community, a wonderful community, a very warm community. I married a Turkish girl, a German Turkish girl, very traditional as well. But then, the divorce, the most challenging time of my life. What I didn't know back then is it was not the end, it was the beginning of my second life. It was for me the trigger to break the chains. I decided consciously to live a life not based on external rules, on the rules of my community. I decided to live a life on my own rules, on my own culture, putting in the best of the Turkish culture, the German culture, forming Iskender's culture out of it. Marrying a German, wonderful wife, having two very blonde kids. And going to vacation with a lot of German friends. I have actually more German friends now than friends with an immigration background. There's some people from Project A here. We recently went on a Mallorca trip. Can it be more German? And this was the first time I did a trip with German friends. Harro and Christian. Can it get more German? It was the first time I did a trip with German friends at the West Coast. And we landed in Las Vegas. And what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. Probably I will make an exception here. So I did something for the first time in my life in Las Vegas. It was drinking an alcoholic drink. Drinking an alcoholic drink, or alcohol, was in the first part of my life forbidden. It was the symbol for sin, the symbol for evil. So it was kind of the official start of my second life. And I can tell you, it was a terrible drink. Cheers, my friends.
So, as you saw a lot of pictures from my family album today, this is me as well, just turning 1. And it also reflects my background, right? So, I was the first one in my entire family that was born in Germany. I was the first one in my family that spoke actually German fluently the way that all of you here could understand it. And I was also the first one in my family that ever saw a university from the inside and got to finish it. But I also grew up in a very immigrant community in a small town where I would have Turkish, Black, Chinese, international friends, but certainly no German friends, as Iskandar would say. And yes, I also attended, just to also show you a Turkish bride and groom, this is actually my aunt, very Turkish weddings. And fast forward, there was one trip that actually changed my life. Until I was 18, the only trip I did every year was the family vacation for 6 weeks to, of course, to Turkey, because that's what all immigrants do. When they have holidays, they don't do skiing or, I don't know, southern Germany. They go to their home countries. And when I was 18, I told my parents, Mom and Dad, it was really nice with you, but I'm leaving. I'm leaving and I'm going actually to Montreal. My mom almost got a heart attack. But I said, hey, you know what? I really think that I need to change the continent to feel what it means to be standing on my own feet, not in my Turkish community, and also see the world. And yes, I am also married to a German with very blonde kids. And Yeah, fast forward, that trip changed my life, opened my horizon, and made me not only make more German friends, but friends from all over the world. Thank you, everyone.